What you see here is a preview for the next video that I plan to do on analogifying your digital sound, your digital signal. I am presently producing a series of albums. And for this project, I was given 2 reference albums. And one of those reference albums is The Legend of Jesse James, 1978. The other is called White Mansions. I believe that was 1977. And both of those albums were, White Mansions is set, it's kind of a concept album set during the American Civil War, or the war between the states. And The Legend of Jesse James is set in the aftermath of that war. And both albums belong to, I believe, what is known as the Outlaw Country genre. And Brian, the artist, the songwriter, the singer, and I, we've dubbed that sound, the sound of those albums, especially as it comes across on vinyl, we've dubbed it the OCV sound, standing for Outlaw Country Vinyl. And I have tossed and turned in my sleep and dreamed extensively about this problem. Because every time I go back to the reference material, the reference albums, why did I call this channel Vinyl Bear? Well, Bear for reasons that go back a long ways, but vinyl. My quest for achieving a vinyl sort of sound. And it's taken a lot of study, a lot of deep dives down various rabbit holes. And I've learned a lot about the physics that went into the actual engineering of audio signals for lathe cutting. And it's fascinating, actually. And a lot of that has to do with at the mixing and mastering level, has to do with energy distribution. So I learned a lot about energy distribution and how to optimize energy distribution in my mixes to edge the sound closer to that OCV vibe, right? But every time I go back to the reference albums, I get hit with the same thing. They have this weight and this warmth that makes my mixes sound cold and thin and brittle. Doesn't matter. I get a nice deep sound stage, in my opinion at least, and I'll be very happy with the results. I've got the low end properly in control. It's behaving well. The highs, the trebles and the airs are getting smoother. I'm using wave shaping, and I think I've made really good progress. And then I go back to Legend of Jesse James, and every single time it's like jumping into a cold swimming pool. Man, it's really something. And the thing is that there's no way to remedy this with EQ. It's just for lots of reasons. There's just no way to do it. And I mean, I've tried so many different tape machine emulation plugins, tape this and that plugins. Even the 2-tape series from Air Windows Consolidated, just nothing seems to do the trick. There is a qualitative existential difference that exists in those albums from that period. It's a warmth and a weight that is, I came to believe that it's baked into the signal by the analog hardware of the time. And I really started to conclude that maybe it's just a fool's errand, a pipe dream to chase that and try to achieve that in the box digital workflow. But, and it could just be that, maybe everybody knows this, and I'm the dum-dum that always comes late to the party. But either way, I think that I've taken a substantial step forward towards getting closer to that weight and that warmth that I really want to impart to these mixes. And so here's a little preview of the maneuver that I found that I'm going to be showing in my next video and A-Bing for you. And you see right there in the center is this thing called Wolfbot. And you see right there, Wolfbot is an aggressive something evil in its heart. Chris Johnson. He's the developer of Air Windows. He's a good writer. Very, very good writer. But I digress. So what does K stand for? It stands for Kalman filters. So I'm going to read something about Kalman filters, which Chris Johnson is noted for using in his tools. Very unconventional approach to digital signal processing. As far as I know, he's the only one that does it. So, without further ado, I'm just going to read through this AI-generated response. This is Gemini, Google. Yeah, I know. Google's evil. Yeah, I know. But I'm telling you, like, AI is a power tool that can save a lot of time with due diligence. Okay, so anyways, I asked, what are Kalman filters and why does Chris Johnson use them in Air Windows plugins? I'm just going to read through the response. This is background for the next video. Kalman filters are mathematical algorithms used to estimate the true state of a dynamic system over time by combining noisy measurements with a predictive model. While traditionally used for guidance, navigation, and robotics, Chris Johnson uses them in Air Windows plugins, such as Stonefire, Console X, and Air 3/Air 4, to create unique nonlinear texture shaping, high-frequency taming, and complex crossovers that target texture, not frequency. So what are Kalman filters? A Kalman filter predicts the next state of a system and updates that prediction based on new noisy data, arriving at a best guess that is more accurate than either source alone. Predict and update. The filter operates in a loop. 1. Predict, estimates the next state based on the current state. 2. Update, correct. Uses incoming measurements to adjust the prediction based on calculated uncertainty. Kalman gain. Efficiency. They are recursive and light on memory, meaning they only need the previous state to calculate the next, making them fast and suitable for real-time audio. Stochastic. Designed to work well with signals contaminated by noise. Why Chris Johnson uses Kalman filters in Air Windows. Chris Johnson, aka Air Windows, uses Kalman filters for non-typical audio processing that defies standard EQ/filtering logic. 1. Texture shaping versus frequency EQ. Instead of using filters to cut specific frequencies, Johnson uses Kalman filters as crossovers in plugins like Stonefire to shape the texture of audio, creating, quote, edgy growl and sputter, unquote, or, quote, monumentally heavy, unquote, sounds. 2. High frequency taming, parentheses, slew/acceleration. Plugins like Acceleration 2 and Air 3/Air 4 use Kalman filtering to target digital behaviors that create, quote unquote, Gibb effect overshoots, crackle, and harshness. They act as, quote unquote, acceleration limiters, cleaning up harsh brightness without softening the sound. 3. Unconventional crossovers. In plugins like Console X, Kalman filters create crossovers that can, quote-unquote, bounce around wildly or, quote-unquote, throw in weird gaty behaviors, offering a sound that cannot be achieved with traditional EQ. 4. Here's a money shot. Simulating analog behavior. By harnessing the edge created by Kalman filters, Johnson creates, quote-unquote, compromised digital mixing environments, Console X, that allow stronger signals to affect smaller ones, mimicking analog console behavior. 5. No pre-ripple. In slew plugins, Kalman-based filters stack to create steep roll-offs without pre-ringing/pre-ripple, keeping transient attacks tight and clean. Note, Johnson frequently advises that these filters should not be measured with standard tools like Plugin Doctor because their behavior is intentionally strange, volatile, and geared toward producing unique textures rather than linear, clean results. See what I'm on about here. And like with everything that I put out here, take it as is and apply your own standards and sensibilities and estimations and filters and your due diligence. Look into it. I've looked into it quite a bit, and I've decided to take my analogification efforts down this path. And I'm trying it in a way that I really should have thought of before, but better late than never. So that's it for this preview to my Wolfbot maneuver. And I will see you next time. May the winds of clarity blow ever in your favor. Vinyl Bear in lovely scenic Paju City, South Korea. Over and out.